Hello everybody, my name is Lefras. Like so many South African home distillers, I started distilling during the COVID lockdown and alcohol ban. At the time there were no shops open, so it was impossible for me to get the materials I'd need to build a proper pot still. So instead, I experimented with what I had at hand. Some copper tubing, some pumps and electronics. But by the end of the lockdown, I was running this large continuous still. With it, I could run an entire barrel, 200 litres of wash, in under 3 days, with very little effort. But since then, my needs have changed. So now I would prefer to have a little still I can hide away in a cupboard somewhere and just bring out when I want to run a barrel of wash, without much fuss. So it took a while, but after a lot of experimenting, I came up with this little design. It does the job perfectly. But I know a lot of you are skeptical, so I thought of this demonstration. I call it my Moonshine Speedrun Challenge. The challenge is to go from raw material, ferment it, distill it, and be done in under 2 hours of actual work. And to do it on Facebook Live. So it's there for the records for anyone to check. I'll of course make some compilation videos like this, giving explanations of what I'm doing, etc. But the original footage is there for you to check. So, in terms of material, what we're going to use is of course the sugar, the lees from the previous run that's still in the barrel, water, and then the oyster shells, biotin, Epsom salts, plain old baking yeast, and some caustic soda diluted into water. In terms of equipment, we've got the insulated barrel, we've got buckets for the water, I've got an immersion heater, spade, a aquarium heater, an immersion blender, thermometer, pH meter, hydrometer, alcohol meter, funnels, some collection jars, and of course the still and bottle. So everything I'm going to use is on display here. So without further ado, let's get started with the first episode of my Moonshine Speedrun Challenge. Okay, this is day 1, sanitation. Because I keep the lees and the last 10 litres of wash through many fermentations, I'd like to make sure that I don't carry any infection from one fermentation to the next. So to do that, I add an extra 10 litres of water, put the barrel on a tilt, add in my immersion heater, and heat the whole thing up to about 65 degrees Celsius. That will kill any little bugs that might have made a home in here. So let's go. And that's all there is to it. Well, that's all there is. Okay, so we're still on day 1. This is the sugar wash and nutrients and pH control. So now I've been sitting at 65 degrees for a little while. I'm going to remove the heater, dump in 3 bags of sugar and dissolve it with a spade. Then I'll add in the 100 litres of water, the crushed oyster shells, the biotin and the Epsom salts. After that I'll close it up and add in the aquarium heater set at 28. and that'll be it for the day. So let's go. Ooh, steamy. Okay, so out of my original tools, I missed out the knife. Nice clean spade. That's about that. You can smell the acidity of the leaves. Okay, now the water. These are 25-liter buckets for 6 gallons. Okay. Okay, sitting at about 34 now, but it will drop down, and the aquarium unit will make sure it doesn't go below 28. So that's about all there is. Okay, so we're still on day 1. I missed out a little something in the last video. Forgot to add this. That's the oyster shells. Biotin is a it's not a multivitamin, it's a vitamin. It's the stuff that the yeast needs, that you normally use a multivitamin for. And Epsom salts, a nice pinch. Okay, now I think we're done. Ah, wait. Can cover up the hole. My airlock. Thank you. So this is day 2. It's time to pitch the yeast. First, I'm going to have to check the temperature, the starting gravity, and the pH, and do a pH correction if needed. Then I will sprinkle in the dry yeast and use the immersion blender to mix the yeast and aerate the wash. The blender is going to be very loud, so when I say you need to turn down the volume, you need to do that. That's about it. Let's go. Okay, you can see the temperature is spot on, 28, just about 28. Okay, so first I'll do the gravity. Okay, so if we just get that a nice close up there. Should be able to see it's just on or just under 1080. Okay. Give that a rinse. Okay, and then the pH. Four 4.56. That is due to the use of the leaf, which is quite acidic. So we have to raise the pH to something that the yeast will be a little bit more happy with starting off. If that was halfway through the ferment, I wouldn't be too fussed with it. So for a 4.5, I need to raise it to at least about a 5.2. So I use about half a liter of this lye solution. This is 20 grams of lye caustic soda mixed into 2 liters of water. I'll use about half a liter of this. Be careful with this stuff, you don't want it to splash into your face. Just rinse my hands, in case any of it got into my hands. Just let me give this a little mix. Spider rinse. And I'll take another reading. There you go. 55049. Probably add a little bit more. Just rinse the pH meter. So I'd say I probably used closer to 800 milliliters to the liter. Repeat. Rinsing the spade. And check it again. Ah, 5.3. Just about a perfect pH. to get your yeast started. Rinsing the pH meter. It's important to do this quickly after you've used it to avoid the sensor getting contaminated. Okay, so now our pH is correct. We can pitch the yeast. Temperature is right, pH is right, starting gravity is right. Just dump this in. And grab the immersion heater. Okay, now this is where you maybe want to start turning your volume down a little bit. This is going to be loud. This is done more for the aeration than for mixing. But while you're at it, and easy to clean. And back on the wall. Okay, now just to close up. Now you can see the color of the wash is creamy. That is from using the lees. So it goes throughout the entire wash as nutrients for the new yeast. My airlock. The CO2 will form a natural barrier on top of the ferment to keep the oxygen out. Okay, but then this is actually more for the insects. If a couple of bees get a whiff of the ferment going on in here, I'll have half a hive in the barrel. Believe me, I've done that. It's a hell of a cleanup. Okay, that's about it. Okay, so today's day 3. Today is the day we add the rest of the sugar. So we'll first check the pH and temperature, and at the end we'll top up to the 200 liter mark. Okay, so let's go. Okay, so the crossiness came up last night and went down, so we didn't spill anything at all. So the first thing I'm going to do is check the pH. That's reading a pH of 3.8. which is okay, although a little bit on the low side. Yeast ideally prefers somewhere between 4 and 6 as a pH level, but it will carry on working right down to 3, but by 2.8 pretty much your yeast is stalled. And it's probably the most common reason why sugar washes take long, is you allow the pH to go down too low. So since we want this to ferment quite quickly, that pH is not going to do it. So before we raise the pH from about 4.5 to 5.2, and that took about 1 liter of the 2 liters, which was 20 grams of caustic soda. So that took about 10 grams of caustic soda to raise it from 4.5 to 5.2. I remember that right. Now to raise this from 3.8 to 4.4 or something like that is going to take 10 times more. Because we've gone a number down in the scale, 4.5 is 10 times less acidic than a 3.5. So if it before took half of 20 grams, it is being 10 grams, it's now going to take maybe 100 gram to raise the pH from 3.8 to maybe 4.5. So that's a lot more than what I had thought. Let me just get some more caustic soda. So what I'll do, I will dilute the caustic soda in the water I'm going to pitch. This is 500 grams. And it's about half. So I'm going to judge to put in about somewhere between 50 and 100. That should be about it. So I'm just going to mix this in here. Be careful not to spill and get it on yourself. Caustic soda, like I said before, it's quite nasty stuff. And then just keep it going. Don't want it to all sit at the bottom of the barrel. We just left it without stirring it and sat at the bottom of this bucket. It's an exothermic reaction and it would heat up pretty quickly, cause the bucket to melt. When I do the bottles of the diluted lye that I use to do the initial correction, I first do that in an old stainless steel pot. I'll rinse the spade just now. Okay, so I'm going to tip this into there carefully. Carefully. Splashing on that's not good. Okay. Now I'll put in the rest of the sugar. And we're still a little bit short. Probably here close to 190 liters. Yeah. Want to take the pH reading now. Oh yeah, that's raises a lot. I'm gonna just mix it through properly. That's 5.1. That should make the yeasties nice and happy. It's a little bit more than what I intended to put in, but then I was just eyeballing it, so what you're going to do. Temperatures on 29. And there we go. Thank you. Okay, so today is day 4. Not much to do today. We're just going to check the readings and top up with a bit more water. Okay, so let's go. The reading temperature there is 30.7. So that is higher than 28. So the ferment is so active that it's producing its exothermic reaction at the moment. Okay, that's busy, busy, busy. So, firstly the pH. That's sitting at 4.6. For this stage in the ferment, that's very good. Not going to really bother with adjusting it further. It's gone through the initial crash, and also that 4.6 now 4.7. 4.7 will sit there probably for the rest of the ferment. Then the gravity now. I'll bring it close to the camera. Still adjusting, and now see, can be seen. Almost. Right. It's just under the 1040. So it's come down from 1080 to 1040. But in reality, we're going to push it on further by adding more water. I'm going to add more water. I'm going to top it up so that our overall gravity for the starting gravity for this ferment would have been just under the 1080. There. Let's get a while longer. This seems long. You hear the cow in the background. Okay, that's it for the day. We'll be back tomorrow. Thanks. Okay, so today is day 5. Not much to do today. Just going to take some readings. Could really have skipped today's recording, but I thought, well, let's just do it. Okay, so the temperature is 29.6. There's gravity. So perfect. By tomorrow I can start distilling. So just to be clear, even though this is day 5 of when I started, it's only been 72 hours of actual ferment. pH 4.3. Okay, so here we are on day 6. It's been 4 days since we pitched the yeast, roughly 96 hours. Just really going to check the gravity, see how far it's gotten. Yeah, spilling. Yeah, it's very nice. Just almost done. Maybe 1004. So, put that up to the camera. I don't know if it focuses, but yeah, we can actually start distilling. So, I thought I'd still give it till tomorrow, but it's ready to go. And I'm still going to leave the heater in and everything, because it'll still go down a little bit more. But I don't need to undo any of that right now. So, what I have, this is the feed tube, and that's a little filter at the end. I'm just use a little piece of wood to make like a flotation platform. That I drop in, so it sits at the top, so it doesn't drop to the bottom and suck up the yeast cake from the bottom. So that, should keep the hole closed. Bring the still. Collection jars. Feed tube just plugged into the back. It's got a drain. I'm just going to let that go into the bucket. Back. And then we need a glass. Can't work us out 2 cups of juice. Electrical juice. And sugar juice. Okay. I don't like leaving the jar open because of bugs, so I'll just get a little hole in the one corner. Just put it in under the mason jar. That flies a little bit in the way, but that's just out of the way. There we go. So that'll collect the hearts, and this will collect the heads, and it's on. It pumps up the first volume in, and that's all there is to it. So we'll come back tomorrow, or maybe a bit later, and we'll just come and have a look, see how much of it's taken. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Okay, so this is a few hours later. Got a bit of a storm brewing, some lightning and thunder. I thought I'd do this quickly before we lose internet connection or power. So it's been running a couple of hours. That's been giving us still time to do like a miniature sack run. So we're just going to start the first bit of distillate coming off the still. Let's see how much that is. It's after what about 2.5–3 hours of actually running. That's like 60 mils. Putting it here into my fire started jar together with a head splits. There goes the little. And okay, now if your still has been standing for a while, you might be getting some blue-green stuff out of there. Depends on how well you cleaned it and how long it stood. You'll get some copper oxidation, but if you clean it well when you finish using it, and it doesn't stand too long, it comes out pretty clear. But as long as you get blue-green coloring coming out, keep on discarding it. This is clear. Once it runs clear, you're good to go. That's it. Thank you. Okay, so this is day 7. It's been 5 days since the ferment, and we're ready to take off our first product after the mini sack run of last night. So let's go. Bottle in the funnel. Grab the jar. Funnel. Bottle. And then of course the heads to my fire lighter jar. You take some of the heads and full shots there. You can smell that fruity, flowery, floral smell of the full shots and the heads. I take off about 10 to 20% of the heads, which gives me quite a good yield on the actual product. And that's about it, except just for the audience, I will do a check on the actual ABV. So there we go. Just about spot on 90. He's quite cool in here, so this would be sitting at about 20. So this would be quite an accurate reading. Again, don't know how well I can get the camera to focus, but there it is. Okay, so we're done. So this is day 8. It's to take off some product. So let's go. That's all there is to it. But I would like to just say a few things about using lees instead of DAP to start a wash. When you start your first ferment, you'll have to use something like a yeast bomb or yeast nutrients to start. Using nutrients like tomato paste or DAP or even a commercial yeast nutrient is called a sweet wash. I've made many sweet washes when I started out. First with tomato paste and then later on with DAP. But over the time, I've sometimes overpitched the DAP. And the last time I did that, I got such a bad chemical taste that in all subsequent washes, I could actually still taste the DAP. So I switched from using DAP to using the lees. Now, a sour mash also uses backset and it uses unsterilized lees. So I'm not sure if my method really is a sour mash wash, but it produces consistently good, clean ferments. So I can highly recommend it. That's about it for this first week. Thank you very much.